And welcome in, everyone, to Buffalo Wild Wings in Pikeville, Kentucky for the Al Holland Coaches Show. And, Coach, welcome in. And we got a big one this week at Lindsey Wilson. But first, let's talk a little bit about last week. And obviously a disappointment with the outcome with Bethel. But maybe just describe your thoughts on that game.
Came out the gates playing well offensively. Defensively, just had some miscues, but can't make excuses. You got to find answers, and it was a great opportunity for some young guys to be able to step up and take advantage of some opportunities, which we didn't do this past Thursday night. But I had a great crowd out there. Had a great tailgate. Texas Roadhouse did a great job with that. I felt like all the fans really enjoyed that, but got off to a fun start for the fans, back and forth football, throwing the thing around and putting up a lot of yards and a lot of points on both sides of the ball. I felt like the difference in that first half was we had a turnover there, and they took advantage of that turnover and ended up going up 10 on us right there in that first half and sort of changed the game because then they got that ball back starting the second half and just never could catch back up. And they just, they continued to hit on all cylinders, and we just couldn't slow them down this past Thursday night. But, a very valuable learning experience for our football team. Another non-conference game like I talked to our guys about. I said, you're not in the conference play yet. I said, but all these games are going to help set you up for whenever you get into that conference play, because you're going to find some teams that's going to do some very similar things that this Bethel team did. And hey, if you get lucky enough and you make a big run during conference play, hey, you may be matched back up with them later on during playoffs. So, hey, it's it's a long shot, but hey, right now we got to take it one game at a time. And guess what? Things don't get no easier when you're going to number 4 Lindsey Wilson this weekend. That's had some playoff runs the past couple years, and we got to grow up as a football team. But hey, we're getting a little bit healthier, get a couple guys back, and hopefully that makes a big difference for us. But it's sort of been up and down seesaw, as in one guy's out, you got somebody else that gets banged up. So, our training staff's doing a great job with these guys and getting them in and out of treatment and getting them in there as many times during the day that they can, and hopefully that's going to pay off for us.
Yeah, I think you touched on it. I thought early on, it was back and forth, and then Bowen gets sacked there, and we had that turnover. Yeah. But let's go to the highlights and look at some of last week's game and just talk a little bit about that.
Which is another humid night out there at the Hamleys. So we've had 2 Thursdays in a row that was very, very humid for us.
I was actually talking about, the black jersey, but I guess as humid as it was last week, it wouldn't matter if it's orange, white, or what it was. So
here was early on. We had a nice drive and got down there and stalled and ended up coming away with 3 points. But, hey, very productive coming back from, 2 weeks ago. We missed those same opportunities. Yeah. And then, hey, here was that same big play right here that sort of got us down there that we wish we would have finished this drive and would have got that one with Artis. That would have been a nice 7 points instead of being 3 there. Here's the next drive offensively. Find Artis. Artis has been making big plays for us as a redshirt sophomore. Had a big freshman year a year ago, and this is what we expect out of him week in and week out. But there's a lot of guys on this perimeter that can make some plays to go along with this running game, and almost had 400 and some, close to 500 yards of offense. X did a heck of a job. The offensive line continues to grow and gel, and you see some new faces out there week in and week out. You got Willie McLeod back this week. That helped us tremendously offensively. So a nice job on the day. And then, hey, Darian Leslie. I told Coach Wells, I sat in his office this past week. I said, you mark it down. Big D Les is getting better. He's going to have a touchdown this week. And sure or not, he had one. This was a big 4th down stop right there, and proud of our defense there. I thought we could have built off some of that momentum, but just couldn't capitalize there at the end of the half. This is late in the third quarter right here. Nice play by Trayvon Wofford to Alex Shelton. You'll sort of hear that combination more and more over time. Big play by Bowen Smith to Alex Shelton. Bo staying in the pocket there. But, hey, we go to Columbia this week. It's going to be a 6:30 kickoff Central Time, 7:30 Eastern Time. So going to be a little different travel for us. We'll travel day of since it's going to be a night game. So we'll get to talk a little bit more about Lindsey later on in the show. But Bethel's got a great football team. They jump into the top 25 this week, so we knew going into it they was going to be athletic and big. They had some transfers, and they was every bit of what we expected.
Talk a little bit about what you said to your team following the game last week and just moving forward.
Right. Big thing, like I told our guys, I said just holding each other accountable day in and day out. The little small details are what's hurting us right now. Busting the coverage, fitting it in the wrong gap, spinning out of the gap defensively, not finishing a block up front, finishing the routine plays. I said these small attention to details are hurting us. I said, these are things that I can help fix it, and holding our coaches accountable and the coaches holding you accountable from what we're wearing every day when we show up for a pregame meal, whether we all have the same shirt, shorts, and shoes on. Those details help carry over into later on in life, and whether it's football or whether it's in the workforce, doing things the right way day in and day out. So, we went back to getting to some fundamentals, as in, just tackling and doing those little things, because a lot of missed tackles, not running their feet and running through guys and trying to tackle high, that we got to get fixed, and that those things will get corrected. But, we got to continue to work and do the fundamentals.
Coach, we appreciate it. We'll be back a little bit later to talk about Lindsey Wilson.
Sure appreciate
We'll be back with more from Buffalo Wild Wings in Pikeville. This is the Al Holland Coaches Show right after this timeout. And welcome back to the Al Holland Coaches Show, live here from Buffalo Wild Wings in Pikeville. We're joined now by Braxton Whitmore, first team All-Conference and second team All-American. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Talk a little bit about your performance last week and how you grade yourself personally.
I'm always my hardest critic. I'm always the hardest on myself. I always think if I go back and film what I can do better, what the coaches can help me, how I can help the team just win games and succeed on and off the field.
Talk some about yourself personally and to let people know where you're from and your high school and all that.
I'm from a little town in Kentucky. Some people know it's Perry County. I went to Perry County Central High School. And I'm just a local blue-collar kind of guy, really. And I try to do the right things, pretty much lead by example, and for the young guys to follow.
Talk some about last week's performance and obviously a disappointment losing to Bethel, but what are some of the things you guys have worked on this week to try to prepare for Lindsey Wilson?
We had some minor things in the Bethel loss, but things we can correct and get better in the future. Bethel was an extremely good football program, and we just beat ourselves on little things during the game, didn't finish drives, wouldn't make a tackle, stuff like that. But we've watched a lot of film on Lindsey Wilson. We know Lindsey Wilson is the number 5 ranked team in the nation, and they're coming in to play. So we just got to bring our lunch bucket.
Yeah, especially going to their place, it's going to be very difficult to play. And, of course, obviously, as a college football player, you look forward to challenges like this, don't you?
Yes, sir. Always playing. It's always good to play ranked teams to see where you're at and then what the competition's like also.
Talk some about what you've done even in the off season to prepare for this season and some of the things you feel like you've improved on.
I'd say my blocking, because last season I was okay, but I think I've took it to another level with it. And in off season, you just have to put that constant grind in, work every day. You got to always work on your craft. You never want to take a day off because your opponent might not take a day off. And you got to be the hardest working guy out there.
Obviously, the first 3 weeks have all been Thursday night games, and now, here it is, it's Saturday. Do you prepare individually any different for that, or is it just the same routine, just a different day?
I prepare the same as any other game. I watch film with the coaches. We go through practice and stuff like that. So it's all the same. It's just a different day.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about the offense and defense on this Pike team, and what do you feel you guys have got to do better this week that you weren't able to do last week against Bethel?
Offense, we have a very pretty much a veteran group, juniors and seniors, some freshmen, and we just have to finish drives on the offensive side of the ball. Get out of third down, score if it's a touchdown or field goal. And defense, I know there's a lot of young guys coming back, and the coach has them. They need to play big, so they have to get their confidence, and then we just got to be there and make plays.
We obviously lost T. Brown early in the season, and tell me a little bit about how that's affected the defensive side of the ball and maybe some of the adjustments made there.
Of course, T. Brown, he's a heck of an athlete. So to lose a guy like him always hurts in any side of the ball, offensive or defensive. He brings so much to the game. He could do a lot of things for us, not just defense. But that gives a chance now for the young guy to step up and set their place on the defensive side.
Talk a little bit about Lindsey Wilson, and what do you think are really some of the keys that you guys have got to do to beat them on Saturday night?
Limit our mistakes. That's a big thing, and execute. If we could limit our mistakes and execute, I think it'd be a nice dogfight.
Obviously, you've been in this program, and just talk a little bit about the coaching staff and what these guys mean to you, not only as a coach but personally.
Oh man, the coaches mean everything to me. Seeing Coach Holland from the same place I am,
Yeah.
Coach Lamb, and all the coaches, like they've all came in and I came in. So it's like we've all been through this process together. We've been through the wins, been through the losses, been through the heartbreaks. It's just a different kind of bond you can join with them.
What's it meant to you to put on a Pike uniform and wear it week after week?
Proud. Like just like I said, through the wins and losses, I always rep Pike. It's just, I just love the program.
What are some of the things that you like to do when you're not on the football field? What do you do to kind of relax and prepare for a ball game?
I sit around and play video games. I'm a big video game guy. So, or if I'm watching Netflix, just relaxing.
What are some of the things maybe you and your teammates like to do together to kind of bond?
Okay, sometimes we'll go like bowl,
Yeah.
or watch a movie, shoot around or something like that, and sometimes we'll go over plays. Honestly, go over plays like with the young guys and make sure they're on the same page as us.
Braxton, we appreciate you being on, buddy, and we'll see you down there Saturday night. Good luck.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more on the Al Holland Coaches Show live from Buffalo Wild Wings in Pikeville right after this break. And welcome back into the Al Holland Coaches Show live here from Buffalo Wild Wings in Pikeville. We're joined now by Cornelius Jackson, a redshirt senior out of Louisville. And Cornelius, welcome to the show.
Great to be here.
Talk a little bit about your role on this team and what you've got to do to make this program succeed this season.
Well, I set out all of last season, ruptured my patellar tendon, and like right now I'm still recovering a little bit from that injury, but I feel a lot better, and the recovery process with athletic training has been a lot better. But my role should pick up as the season goes along. But I want to be a leader for the defensive side of the ball. Hopefully we get it back together next week.
Obviously, last week, very disappointing loss to Bethel. Just maybe some of the things that we've got to improve on this week to play Lindsey Wilson.
The biggest thing we need to do is tackle this week, game tackle, and each player needs to make sure that they don't try to do too much and just play their technique. And we should have a lot better week than we did last week.
The loss, of course, obviously of T. Brown early in the year. How has that changed the scheme defensively, or is it just younger guys got to step up and play the role?
Yeah, I mean that was a big loss to the defense, losing T. Brown, and it really is younger guys just have to try to fill that gap because he was a major role in defense.
Okay. Just tell me a little bit about what you've done, obviously with the injury. What have you done in the off season to kind of work your way back into this program and being able to get on the field?
I really, before the injury, I was more of a footwork's focusing on, and I've gained a lot of weight since the injury. I was more smaller before I came back from the injury, so I feel like my size should be more of a help me more this season, since I played nose guard, and I played nose guard before I got injured.
Obviously on the defensive side of the ball, and just a little bit about the defense and what you guys learned from last week's game and you hope to improve on come Saturday night?
Can you repeat that again?
I said talking a little bit about this Saturday and what you guys have done this week to kind of improve and get better to face Lindsey Wilson.
I think we're going to simplify our calls a lot more this week and really just try to focus on technique and making tackles. I mean, that was really our biggest struggle.
Obviously a grad school student. Just talk a little bit of personally what that means to you and the fact that you gained a really good education at the University of Pike.
Yeah, I'm very just happy to have this opportunity to continue my education here while still playing the game that I love. And I mean, it's just this is just a great opportunity for me, and I'm gonna take advantage of it.
Talk a little bit for people that don't know you, just a little bit about what you like to do to kind of relax and get ready for a football game.
I try to not think too much about the game until the day before and really just hydrate and relax. I don't really do too much extraordinary to prepare. When the game starts, I'm ready to go.
Obviously, you've been in this program a while. Just talk a little bit about Coach Holland and the other guys and what the coaching staff really means to you personally.
I appreciate them, and I love their mentality to compete each and every year. And no matter how many injuries we get or what our seasons is looking like overall, they are always committed to competing each and every week against any team we play, no matter how high they're ranked or how much of an underdog we are at the time.
Hey, we appreciate you being here, and good luck Saturday night at Lindsey Wilson.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more on the Coach Al Holland Show, live from Buffalo Wild Wings in Pikeville right after this timeout. And welcome back into this final segment of the Al Holland Coaches Show, live from Buffalo Wild Wings in Pikeville. And, Coach, as we said earlier this week, Lindsey Wilson, number 4 ranked team in the country.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about them.
Well, I mean, Coach Oliver's done a heck of a job with those guys and has been there since they started the program, and you don't see that very often, the guy that stays around and he's continued to build this thing and do it the right way. And they've been very supportive of their football program and facilities and things they need to be successful. So, that's been great for him. But, he's going to have a very athletic football team. Offensively, they want to spread it around. A new quarterback this year, so he's got 2 games under his belt. And they graduated a really good player this past season. And so, they're going to try to get the ball out there to their athletes in space. They got a running back that is really, really good and, a more powerful back, but he's got the speed as well, so a bigger back. And offensive line-wise, they got some big linemen, and you're going to see that and – you'll be like, wow, we thought last week we had seen some big guys against Bethel, but, they got some really big guys up front as well. Defensively, they're very fast, fly to the football, just play hard and, they're swarmed to that ball and then creating turnovers. So, they're going to come at you in different ways and try to confuse you and blitz you in different ways to make it tough on our quarterbacks and offensive linemen. So you've got to be very sound in our scheme-wise on both sides of the ball and be very fundamentally sound. And so if we do those things, that'll give us an opportunity to be in the ball game. And, like I always tell our guys, hey, we got to be there in the fourth quarter. And if you're in a game in the fourth quarter, you never know what can happen. So we got to set ourselves up to be successful and to have a chance late in the ball game.
How much sleep have you lost this week setting up, looking at this bunch? I mean, obviously a great offensive football team, and they've put up big numbers first 2 games. So defensively, it's a great challenge for you coming up.
This one's a little bit different than the other 3 games, just for the fact of the other 3, you had new staffs, you had new teams to the conference that didn't have no games, so you had very limited film on Livingstone. So, those games were really tough in preparing for because, you're sort of hitting those on the fly a little bit going out there because, if you notice – us offensively and Reinhardt offensively are two totally extreme opposites. So you couldn't utilize a whole lot of stuff that they did. So, they brought some new things to the table as well. As far as Lindsay, you got a lot of same faces on that staff. So, you're able to go back and watch films from the past and things like that, so, you can pull some tendencies and things. So, them's been some perks for me and for our coaching staff. But, you always try to cross over and do some of those things as we're in the office in the summer. People just think, hey, coaches are just off and, hey, they're sitting on the beach all summer long. Well, it don't work like that either,
No,
So
right.
we sit there and go ahead and start to prepare a little bit for the future in personnel and what teams have coming back and getting to watch some of those films and trying to get ourselves mentally prepared. So, hey, when we get to this week of the season, we're ready for a team like this. And then, hey, any kind of changes that they have, that's easy stuff just to mark out. Now let's continue to move forward with game plans and stuff to help our kids. So
For those listening and watching here tonight, the big thing, of course, and key thing, it's a conference game.
Well, this one actually is another non-conference.
Or another non, that's correct.
Because
You're
a
right.
year from now, we will fold back in and be in the same side of the conference. This thing keeps going back and forth for all
That's
of us.
what's throwing me off.
Gets everybody
It's moving
confused.
everybody.
Don't get me wrong.
But
my
it's a
wife
big
gets confused.
but it's big football.
It's a big game for us, and every team has an opportunity to go out there. If we looked at it on paper, you got the number 14 playing University of Pikeville. That's 1-2. Hey, nobody gives us a shot. Like I told our guys, we got to believe. And we got to go out there and play for 60 minutes. If it takes more than that, hey, no problem at all. Hey, we've been in those situations before. Let's go out there and execute. And, we've got some game experience for some of our young guys that played a lot of minutes a week ago or 2 weeks ago. So you get a couple kids back. Hey, you never know what can happen. But we got to be fundamentally sound for 60 minutes. Hey, we got to create our own breaks. You can't wait for your buddy beside you to make that break. Hey, you got to do your job, and then great things will happen for us as a team.
4th straight night game.
Yep.
Do you prepare any different for that, or schedule-wise?
Yeah, you do just a hair. I mean, but, it just changes our travel plans and things like that. It don't make it as tough on our kids and having to miss class and those things, So we as coaches really enjoy them. The tough thing that'll make it is, hey, we're going to be pulling back into Pikeville, Kentucky, and it's going to be probably 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning after a ball game. Then, hey, Sunday you got to turn around and guess what? The next game's right upon us. You got to get ready for Warner coming back to us the following week. So, that makes it tough as being the traveling team now and coming back and having to get ready for that next week. But, hey, we got to worry about this one this week because this is the most important game. And, hey, we'll figure it out Sunday. If we sleep next week, we sleep. But, hey, this is a big one this week.
We talked earlier a little bit before we came on. Just tell people a little bit about the difficulty that a lot of these kids face. I mean, they're playing football and trying to balance their classroom and
right.
Just how you all handle that as a coaching staff.
Hats off to two young men that you sat here and talked to tonight. You got Cornelius Jackson, the first player that's been part of our football program that's graduated, now comes back as a graduate player. He's taking master's classes, working on his first year of his master's and getting to play a 5th year for us. Braxton Whitmore, a young man, it was a struggle as a freshman for him. And the light bulb come on and then becomes a first-team all-conference as a sophomore and a junior, a second or third team preseason All-American and some different things. So, those little things, and handling business in the classroom, doing it the right way says a lot. But, you got 17 seniors, a special group of guys, and some of these guys have been taken off the field for injuries and nothing that they can control. But, they continue to be a part of it and graduate. And like I tell our guys every day, it's not about, hey, we're wanting to prepare every single day for if something happens to us, we've got an opportunity to be successful and having that degree at the end of the day. We want to play this football as long as we can, but, hey, we got to be prepared for that. But, just like tonight, we got guys that, hey, we had meetings at 5 o'clock. We had our devotion at 5:45. We had our seniors come out here and to the show. We got guys that are in study hall from 6:30 to 7:30, and, hey, we'll hit the practice field at 8 o'clock tonight. While everybody else is, whether in their dorms, it takes a lot of dedication to play this game and to be successful. And these guys pay a big price that people don't realize that, hey, they're putting in a lot of time and effort as they've been to class all day long and had weights today too. And it's been a tough Tuesday, as I call it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Coach, we appreciate you.
Yep.
We'll see you Saturday night
sir.
at Lindsey Wilson.
We sure appreciate it. Thank you guys for everything.
We thank you for listening and watching. And until next Tuesday night live from Buffalo Wild Wings here in Pikeville, we'll return with the Al Holland Show. Good night, everyone.